And as Indian industry struggles with the lockdown, joining me now is a very special guest, Rajiv Bajaj, MD of Bajaj Auto, joins me. I appreciate you joining me there from Pune. I know you're in a city with a complete containment zone. My big question, Rajiv, and I want to cut the chase on this. Do you believe this is the most challenging and difficult moment for Indian industry since liberalization in 1991, even more challenging than the global financial crisis of 2008?
Well, Rajdeep, I joined in 1990 and I can tell you I have not seen a more difficult and a more uncertain period than this because, you know, in my view, what has been started by the virus has now been compounded and taken forward by government action, or let's say by not so smart government action as I see it.
Not so smart government action. You've been quoted, for example, 10 days ago by saying, I continue to believe that the sweeping lockdown makes India weaker rather than stronger in combating the epidemic. Are you looking at it purely from the economic point of view, that you believe that the longer this lockdown continues, industry will find it very difficult to recover and revive?
No, absolutely not, Rajdeep. In fact, I have gone on record to say that this is fundamentally and primarily a medical crisis or a health crisis with economic implications and impact. And my limited point has been that I am not against the lockdown, but my plea and submission is that all lockdowns are not born equal. I don't understand what the benchmark for this lockdown is when clearly India is not like Europe, the UK or the US when it comes to its immunity, its temperature and its demography. And yet, the lockdown here has probably been the most severe of any place in the world. And if you were to compare with the more comparable countries of the ASEAN region, I think there is no comparison in the way we have all been locked up, whether personally or whether in terms of our businesses. And I think this disproportionate response needs to be reviewed and needs to be recalibrated.
So in your sense, for example, Pune now a complete containment zone. This is, of course, the country's auto hub. Do you believe this is draconian? Do you believe that it needs to be gradually relaxed, at least to allow business to start?
Not just Pune, I would say anywhere. You know, first of all, Rajdeep, it is very clear, even when you talk to anybody in government, because we are all doing that every day, that they don't believe that the infections are what are being reported. Because we know very well testing has been inadequate. What we do know is that the numbers are only going to rise in terms of infections and deaths. And this is only going to rise the more we test. So I think if we are looking at a near 0 day to be achieved before we were to begin to unlock, I think that might be months away. As I keep saying, if the common flu is still coming back after 50 or 100 years and claiming 600,000 lives globally, obviously this virus in one form or another is going to come back. We should expect that. So in this case, what should be the scenario for the country or for Pune? I think certainly, if I were to speak for ourselves just to illustrate, though that is not my purpose, I would say plants like ours, in Chakan outside of Pune or in Baluj outside of Aurangabad, which are in the rural areas, in the industrial estates, outside the municipal limits, they should be permitted to start up. Now, on paper, that permission has been granted a couple of days back. But in practice, it is impossible because it is accompanied by, to use your word, draconian conditions and clauses that no industry would like to subject itself to.
So you're saying that the lockdown, the conditions are draconian, even though in the last couple of days there's been this attempt to relax some of the restrictions. You still see it as draconian, or is industry crying foul?
Well, I guess we can all have our own opinion about that. I can tell you our plant in Pantnagar in Uttarakhand, we have been able to kind of open it up, access it, and we are in the process of trying to get it ready to start up, because over there we are not subject to these onerous conditions, whereas over here, for example, we are told that even if one person working in the plant were to be found to be infected, the plant would be shut down and seized, whatever that means, for 3 months. You know, now as a manufacturer or as an organization, we can only accept that we will take all due precaution. We will be twice as careful. If we find something amiss, we will shut down for a day or two or however long it takes to correct it. We'll be open to inspectors coming and inspecting at random. We can do all that. We can be completely cooperative and transparent. But, we cannot guarantee there will not be a single case. I mean, I just heard today that there was one positive case in Rashtrapati Bhavan. What does it mean? Does it mean you are going to shut Rashtrapati Bhavan down for 3 months?
So what is it that industry really wants? What do you think is the recipe for revival? Is it that you sort of lift the lockdown in phase-wise and make the restrictions less severe? Is it that you only have very, very specific areas which are hotspots? Is it that you allow the young in particular, the employable young, to travel, use public transport? What do you think is the recipe?
Okay, I think this is in two parts. There is an economic side to it and there is a health side to it. Speaking of the economic one, because you are asking me about that, I would say, as I've said before, that I look at it as a simple 3x3 matrix. On the one side, based on testing, you have the green and the yellow and the red zone. And on the other side, based on the age of the population, you have, let's say, students, which means people under 21, then those who are 21 to say 60 or 65, and then those who are the elderly and considered vulnerable, that is the 60 plus or 65 plus. Now, on this, I would say the roadmap for an unlock should be simply this, that at least in phase 1 to start with, everybody who is in the middle group, i.e. age 20 to 60, should be allowed to get along with their normal daily routine. Because all data seems to suggest that these people will only develop herd immunity, which is for the better. These people will largely be asymptomatic. And these people, even if some of them have mild symptoms, almost all of them are going to recover. So similarly, I would say on the other axis, whatever zones, and I believe a large number of zones in the country are apparently green, subject to, of course, testing being robust. I would say again over there, let everyone get on with their lives. I think this will solve the economic problem to the extent of 80-90%, because in our offices and in our factories and in our industries, we do not have people who are under 20 or over 60 by and large. So the economic problem will by and large be solved overnight. There will be some loss of efficiency because of the social distancing, etc. But that is acceptable. In this way, we can, put ourselves in a very good position from a business and commerce point of view. From a health point of view, Rajdeep, my limited point, and although I am not an epidemiologist by any stretch, so beyond the point, this is just an opinion, is simply that the goal cannot be to lock down or to unlock. I think in a health crisis like this, the goal has to be to develop herd immunity. And what I would like to hear from those who are responsible for this in government, based on what they hear from the experts, is what is your roadmap to herd immunity? Because you are not going to be able to lock yourselves up for 14, 28 or 49 days and hope that this virus will evaporate. It's not going to. We know that people are getting reinfected in other parts of the world, which is again fine, because that's the way herd immunity develops.
Rajiv, I want to understand this from you. Are you saying that industry-specific sectors are suffering at the moment, like the auto sector, which is badly hit? Or do you believe this is across sectors, that the losses that the lockdown has created across industry is of a magnitude unimaginable, and therefore it's not just sector-specific anymore?
I think it's by and large, everybody's problem. Maybe the degree may vary, because I have friends who are in discrete manufacturing like I am, who are into processing industry, who are in the steel business, for example, who are into banking, finance, IT, etc. Everybody is affected. I mean, I don't know of anyone who's not. And similarly on the other axis, I mean, I have my own dealers and suppliers on either side of me. Most of them are small enterprises. Their turnover is in tens of crores. Their number of employees are in dozens. And they're all affected. And if we think that these small organizations have the staying power to keep the people they have, to keep the jobs, to keep paying them, and are doing so, I think we are living in a fool's paradise. This is not the case.
Do you believe that jobs, layoffs, therefore, and salary cuts are almost inevitable?
They are not just inevitable. I mean, they have already happened. at least across my supply chain, I am aware that they have happened, and I sympathize with that, because I don't see how the organizations can remain afloat if they do not take these measures. These are not the only measures they are taking. They are cutting back on all costs. As far as a company like Bajaj is concerned, fortunately, we are a large company. We are profitable. We are a debt-free company. We have cash on our books. So far, we have not had to resort to job cuts, and I am hopeful that, assuming this doesn't go on in this manner for too long, I am hopeful that we will never have to resort to job cuts. On the other hand, in terms of salary cuts, it is something that we are reviewing, because we are not big enough not to even consider it. And fortunately, in our case, our employees, right from the bottom up, from the unions, have come forward to voluntarily offer a wage cut for as long as the lockdown continues. So while we have not decided yet how much that will be and when we will put that into effect, but if this continues for much longer, we will have no choice but to do that while we cut back on all other costs as well.
It's interesting you're saying this, because the Prime Minister in his speech implored industry, don't go in for wage cuts or don't go in for job cuts. But the reality seems to be very different on the ground. Why is it that industry is not pushing this reality before the powers that be, before government? Why are more people not speaking out like you are?
I don't think people need to say the obvious. I mean, when you post pictures of all the migrants going back home, where are these migrants coming out of? They are coming out of the little restaurants that I like to go to, the little shops that I visit. They are coming from the little dealerships, from the retailers. They are coming from the little, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers that supply to my tier 1 suppliers. It's there for everyone to see unless they are blind to it. On the other hand, look at the information that one is receiving out of, let me start with Austria, where we have our company KTM. Even today I spoke with my counterpart Stefan Pierer there, who told me how supportive his government has been. The fact that they are being reimbursed 85% of the wages of their employees, and mind you, their employees are very, very expensive compared to ours. The small shops and restaurants, etc., have already opened up in Austria. The bigger ones are opening, I think, in a few days' time. And look at the information coming out even from Canada, from the US, from places as far as Indonesia and Kenya. There is so much support, either directly to the people. $1,000 a household is what Japan is offering. There is so much support to industry. There's no support forthcoming here at all.
So you believe industry needs a major support package at the moment, a major one, particularly the small and micro enterprises. Am I correct?
Definitely, I think the small ones need very, very strong hand-holding. For industries like Bajaj Auto, I have again gone on record to say we are not looking for SOPs. We are not looking for someone to bail us out. We are strong enough to weather this storm on our own. But what we need, quite simply, is first, please allow our dealerships to start, because I am sure this is not a demand-side problem at all. In fact, I am hearing in Europe that demand is stronger than ever. Much stronger than it was before the crisis, before they shut down. So demand is not a problem. Open up the dealerships, open up the ports, let the trucks ply, move the goods, help us to start the factories without putting the fear of God into us, and we will take care of ourselves. But yes, the smaller chaps definitely need some help.
Just looking ahead, there are those who are saying this could also be a big opportunity for India, considering that China is under the scanner, that India could emerge as a manufacturing hub if we get our supply chains in particular right. Do you agree with that? That amidst adversity, there could be opportunity provided we get our policies right?
Well, I don't know, Rajdeep, but I will tell you what I heard Bill Gates say once. He said, with all these things, we overestimate what can be done in a year or what may happen in a year, and we underestimate what may happen in 10 years. And I think that will be true here. I don't think, at least in the automotive world, I don't think supply chains can be, replaced overnight in 6 months or 1 year. But yes, if whether for logical reasons or emotional reasons or both, if people are disenchanted with China, and let's face it, today it's not just about the crisis. The fact is that I believe strongly, and I do this on the back of the fact that Bajaj Auto exports half of what it makes across the world, including to the US, Europe and Japan. The cost-quality balance of engineering products coming out of India, in my view, is superior to that of China. This is the reason why KTM has allied with us, Triumph has allied with us, and companies like BMW have allied with TVS, for example. So I think India is going to win on its own merit. India doesn't need for China to fail for India to succeed, but India needs for the Indian government to support it if India is to succeed.
You know, you're speaking much like your father does. I'm glad to see that the plain speaking runs in the genes. I must ask you one final question about something that I know you're deeply interested in, homeopathy. You believe that we should also be looking at homeopathy and Ayurveda more seriously. Am I correct?
I'm so glad you asked me this, because today, Rajdeep, is a historic day for homeopathy in India, in my view, because just today, Dr. Kotecha, Secretary Ayush, sent me the notification he sent out, which effectively says that homeopathy, along with, if you wish, Ayurveda, yoga, etc., can be used as an adjunct, which means additional treatment for the coronavirus, both as a preventive and a curative. So far, it was not permitted. It is something we had been struggling to get permission for. And, you know, I want to thank everyone at Niti Aayog, at the Health Ministry, at Ayush for making this possible.
But at the end of the day, you first want the government of India to lift the lockdown in a manner that allows industry to resume action. You believe what's been done at the moment is simply too little, it's too draconian. Am I correct?
The short answer is yes.
So you believe what's happening at the moment is draconian. I'm getting that word from you, not from me.
Yeah, I do believe so, Rajdeep, because when I look at the impact of the virus in India versus the measures we have taken and compare that, I want somebody in government to stand up and tell me whether our action seems to be in proportion with what the rest of the world is doing. I mean, even today, people argue that this is Thailand is also shut down and Singapore is shut down for the second time. All very well, but my point is all lockdowns and all shutdowns are not the same. People are able to put on a mask, leave their apartment, walk out on the street, visit a friend, buy what they need. Look at what is happening on our roads. Isn't it not ironical, bizarre, and completely weird that you can, half the country, despite the fact that India leads the world in terms of fatalities through road accidents, half the country doesn't wear a helmet and the policeman doesn't even look at you. On the other hand, if a fellow steps out at 6 in the morning to stretch his legs, he is being caned on the streets today. If this is not disproportionate and draconian, what is?
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Rajiv Bajaj, you've spoken very, very strongly, very, very plainly. It's good to hear industry raising its voice in the manner that you are. Hopefully someone is listening. Thanks very much.
You brought out the best in me.
Thanks very much for joining me. Thank you.
Rajiv. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.